Hey guys, welcome to another live show, another live She Knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, get into the chat and let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling about this most recent Arsenal news / a little bit of just a conversation. I saw a tweet from Dan Potts earlier asking if Hincapie is a upgrade on Kiwior. And because he doesn't know, because he doesn't watch it. And I was like, I think that's a really good question. What kind of role is he going to play? Is he an upgrade on Kiwior? A lot of people have Hincapie in a center back role, but I actually think he's going to play more of a left back role. So we're going to talk about that. And then I also want to give you guys the most recent, most updated news about Kiwior and Hincapie. So yeah, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Yeah. All right, let's get into it. Let's see. Tayo says, love to see happy Jess. I am happy. And hi, Jess. Hello to you as well. Happy Jess. I am happy. It should be an upgrade based on what people are saying. MM is saying sup. It's up to you as well. One timer says he can play both roles at a high level. Jack says, wish we could keep Kiwior. And so I know a lot of people are feel really think very highly of Kiwior. And I am one of those people. I think very highly of Kiwior. I really do like him, as a player. And I wish that maybe we would have seen, the better version of Kiwior a lot sooner than, the Champions League semifinal and quarterfinal. But I think he's leaving at least with a positive kind of feeling from Arsenal fans, because there was a period of time where I don't think people were super high on him. And so, two things can be true at the same time, that Kiwior is a good player. And he could play a role in the squad, but I think this might just be the best time to let him go. And it's probably the best time for him as well. It's, he's 25, he ain't getting no younger, and you don't want to spend all your time on our bench. I think a lot of what happened in preseason showed you what his role is going to be. And it was definitely behind Calafiori as well in the left center back depth chart. And bringing Mascara in definitely pushed him further down that list. So yeah, I think ultimately this is the right thing for everyone, but I'm just happy that he can leave and it's more of a positive type of feeling, because the last time he played for us, he did really well, so I'm happy about that. So the most recent jibber jabber about Kiwior is that Porto have made an official bid for Jakub Kiwior, and it has been received by Arsenal. The fee is in excess of 25 million euros, package and add-ons included, on a loan with an obligation to buy. And Kiwior has already said yes to Porto. AFC are in talks over the details of the bid. I think this probably feels low, because we had pretty much bought him for 25 million, I believe a couple years ago. So I think with his recent performances and, coming to England, playing for Arsenal, I think people expected a higher fee. Now, I think because Kiwior had turned down the opportunity to stay in the Prem, that did limit the level of the fees, because we know that teams in Europe tend to be a little bit more skin. They don't really have the same financial power as the Premier League. If he had end up going to Crystal Palace, which was an option to him, we probably would have gotten a solid 30 million for him without add-ons. But because we know we're dealing with Porto and these types of teams don't actually have the money, it kind of is what it is. I don't think in this window we've maybe done as much work on our reputation on the market and getting those sales in the way that I was anticipating, because, Berta's in the door. I don't think there's much that's going to happen with Fabio Vieira and Sambi Lakanga and Reese Nelson to change that. But, it's his first window and he's done such a good job with incomings that, I don't want to be like, he's shit at selling as well. But this is a little bit low, but all things considered, we're pretty much getting our money back and we'll be able to reinvest that money into another player that maybe suits us just a little bit better. He must really not like England. I could imagine maybe not wanting if you came from Serie A, you came to England, you probably don't want to go to Crystal Palace. And I like Crystal Palace, don't get me wrong, but he's probably like, "Nah, I'm trying to go somewhere a little bit more Mediterranean or a little bit more, not as cold and dark," So, going to Portugal probably maybe just suits lifestyle better. It could just be that. You know, Porto play in European competitions, so he'll be able to do that as well. I wish he would have went to Crystal Palace for our betterment, but he gets to make his decision. Says he wants more sun. If we sold here, we would have gotten 35 million easily. One thing Kiwior doesn't really show enough is aggression and conviction in defending, in my opinion, but he is probably the best passer out of our center backs in the last 2 seasons. When he got a run of games, he did well. Loving how on job Berta is, did not see this coming. Kiwior wants to play more games. I can respect that, but he takes a pay cut to get it. And so, I mean, listen, most players that come to Arsenal that start to see themselves fall down the depth chart usually run their deal down or get down to like that last year and then leave for like a super small fee. So I will never begrudge, Kiwior for leaving and us maybe not getting as much as we expected because we're essentially getting our money back, which is better than getting less. And he gets to choose where he wants to go. I think it suits all sides, and then we'll be able to bring in somebody else. Kiwior, for me, is a really good passer of the ball. I think the first thing that stood out to me when I was watching his comps when we first got him was his passing range. And so I was kind of expecting to see that. And I feel like maybe the physicality of the Premier League made it more of a tough environment for him to be able to ping those passes. But when we saw them, they were really good. I think what also hurt him was the stint at left back at the end of the 23-24 season, because he had like obviously he had like the good moment where we were all kind of playing well and he was a part of that. But the game against the tie against Bayern, I think really hurt him in terms of like the overall perception of him in the fan base. But I still kind of stand on, feeling like Arteta should have used him instead of Rob Holding in the run-in, so there's 2 sides to every story. And where I think that he had maybe some poor performances, there was maybe a way that we could have used him a little bit earlier and maybe got some better results and maybe saw more of his passing range. And one of the biggest things in the Premier League, I don't really buy into this whole idea that like you have to be so physical, but as a center back, I do think that is true. I don't think very many center backs that come into this league that are a little bit more, maybe on the ball than off it, do well in this league. The best center backs in this league are incredibly athletic, incredibly physical, and even though they need ball playing, they need the ball playing in their game. You still need to be able to keep up. And I don't think from like a pace, power, aggression, athleticism, he had it. So that's something to look at with Hincapie and seeing if maybe he has those things to kind of like I think with Mascara, we see it that he's more similar to Gabriel and Saliba. Hincapie might actually be like that as well with the athleticism and aggression, and that's going to suit us better, especially in the Premier League. The way we play, you need speed and footwork. Kiwior is weak in these areas, and his aggression is up and down. From the first few games, I like the way Arteta has rotated. Kiwior is a good player, better than Hincapie now, but Hincapie is a better fit and will be better with coaching. Callum moves to left center back. MLS moves to midfield. It all works out. But now at Jess, I want to hear the latest on Hincapie. Been watching him for long, by the way. He's an absolute gem made for the Prem. Well, since you've been watching him, I'd love to hear your input on this as well. Like, I will obviously give my input based on the maybe 24 hours worth um of research that I've done. But just watching like all action clips and stuff like that to just get a general feeling on who the player is, and what he can give to Arsenal. But this is an open forum. If you guys have any sort of information, I would love to hear it, because sometimes, every once in a while, you guys are smarter than me. Not very often, but sometimes. No, I'm just joking. A lot of the times you guys are smarter than me. So this is where we are with the deal. Piero Hincapie has said yes to Arsenal, and personal terms have been agreed. Long-term deal ready. Okay, long-term deal ready. Understand Hincapie favors Arsenal and is seen as the ideal signing by Arteta. Arsenal prepare opening bid, likely a loan plus obligation to buy, with Kiwior to Porto soon. So one thing I will say about this is that it's just so funny how Berta has operated with the last two deals in particular, because what you see is a very clear pattern and a very clear strategy from Berta, in my opinion, that he essentially waited for Spurs to negotiate the deal down. And then once we got the preference from the player, we utilized that formulation in order to get a better deal with a player that wants us and prefers us over the other team. We saw that with Eze. We basically allowed them to negotiate. And then we came in, offered the similar terms, if not a little bit more, and ended up getting the player because he wanted us instead. Same thing is happening with Hincapie. Spurs, they negotiated the loan with the obligation. That's what they wanted to do. And now we're taking that loan obligation structure, and we're going to utilize that, which suits us because the Kiwior money is not going to come until later. So paying Bayer Leverkusen actually makes sense to pay that like at a later date, just like we're going to receive the money for Kiwior at a later date. And so we don't have to pay any upfront, and we can just defer that payment till later. And so I like that strategy. I think it worked out really well. And if Spurs can just keep going towards good players and they can negotiate it down for us and we can just swoop in, who knows what we can get? Do you want to go talk to, who do you guys want? You want Liao? Maybe they should go talk to Liao and maybe we could go swoop in. But I really do like this signing. I think that, ultimately, like, I get that the defenders are not the most exciting thing to talk about, but one thing that Arsenal have spoken about, or like the talking heads around Arsenal have spoken a lot about, is the closing of the gap between our starters and our bench players, and trying to blur that line a lot more, because over the past like 4 seasons with Mikel, it's been pretty clear who's going to start, and the bench has not been maybe a bench that keeps up the same level. Obviously, the bench has gotten better as time has gone on, but there hasn't really been a true competition for places. When you bring in players like Mascara, when you bring in players like Eze, when you bring in players like Madueke, all of a sudden you see a lot more starters than you did before. And so I do think that this player sits in that category of can and probably will start in some games. And I maybe would say that for Arsenal fans, just for the sake of like progression and growth, to maybe not think so much in terms of starters and bench players, and like, players that aren't going to play and players that are going to play, and think more about who would suit this type of game a lot better. Because if you have the option of using Kala in certain games, and you have the opportunity to use Hincapie in certain games, that's a lot different than having Kiwior as an option, because we know that you're always going to defer to Calafiori. But there's probably a world where maybe Hincapie is a better option than Calafiori. So, I think when we're looking at what this person is going to bring beyond his playing style, which we'll get into, is that furthering of that blur of the line between the starter and the person that's not starting, and more of a team full of options rather than starters and bench players, which we have been for a long time. I don't think this player comes in for 50 something million from a Bundesliga winning side, an Ecuadorian international. He's not coming to sit on our bench. Just like Mascara is not coming to sit on our bench, just like Eze is not coming to sit on our bench, just like Madueke is not coming to sit on our bench. This is the first time where I feel like we actually have genuine depth, and I don't see as many bench players. I see a lot more options, and I like that. Tyrell says, big up, Jess. Big up to you as well. I wish Kiwior all the best. Hopefully he goes and smashes it at Porto. Agreed. Let's see. I think of the treble Man City. They had Ake, Prime Diaz, Akanji, Stones, all top defenders at that point. And yeah, I think that's a really good example. And with the kind of defenders that we have as well, with, some players having maybe like some injury issues, I think it is important to have players that come in that feel comfortable playing at the high level, and we don't have to like be scared that they're not going to be able to handle the pressure and the Premier League. This player definitely exemplifies that for sure. Jess, I liked your phrase yesterday when you said he looks like a South American defender. I totally understood what you meant, and you were spot on. I love a South American defender. I love the aggression, and I love a passion merchant. I love those things. And so obviously it needs to be honed and refined ever so slightly, especially if you play for Arsenal, because there's not going to be any leeway given. We know we've had South American defenders. We have South American defenders in our team right now. Our best defender is South American, and he was rough around the edges when he first came, but now that he's been refined and has, he's kept that level of aggression and power, but it's at the right time, at the right moment, done right. Like, he's the perfect example of why you want South American defenders, but how you need to make sure that he's Gabriel and not Romero. And so with Hincapie, I see a lot of that, like, I'm going to slide through your ankles. I'm going to get the ball. I have no problem, laying you out. But I did see an all actions comp from him when they played against Atletico Madrid, I think. And I believe he got sent off in that game. And you could see that with all the good things that he was doing, there was a moment of seeing red and just flying through somebody's ankles right at the edge of the box, and he got a second yellow. I think he's one that's going to need a little bit of that, like, you need to know when to do these things, but you don't want to take away that passion and that fire and that aggression, because that's what makes these players so good. So there's a little bit of that, but he's also young. It's not like he is who he is and he's just going to be like a bozo or anything like that. He's a really, really good player on the eye from what I could see, but he is South American defender. Period. And I like that. He's basically Gabriel before Arteta refined him. He's the 6-foot Lissandro. Let's see. I just see a left-sided Ben White. Well, Ben White can't defend as well as Hincapie. So I actually don't think that there's anybody that's a clear comp for him in our team, to be fair, because even if you say like he's a left-sided Timber's technical level is higher than Hincapie's. And I don't think Hincapie is somebody he's not like that press resistant, ball sticks to your foot type of guy. He has some of the good defensive traits, obviously, like where you can trust him 1v1 and he makes the hard tackles and he's hard to get by. But from a technical standpoint, I don't actually see him being comparable to Timber. But I also think it would be a little bit disingenuous to say that he's just a left-sided Ben White, because Ben White is not the best defender, and Hincapie is a good defender, a very good defender. Hincapie is like a left-sided Hincapie. Exactly. There's nobody like him in our squad, and I think that that's interesting. He's going to learn from the best, especially Big Gabby. Speaking of South American defenders, remember Rafa. Callum moving to left center back. Diallo says, Jess, our best defender. I think Timber and Saliba might have a thing or two to say about that. Listen, I am happy to debate who's our best defender between Gabriel, Timber, and Saliba. For me, it's Gabriel, but I don't think there's much between them. I'm totally open with Timber being our best defender. I'm totally open to Saliba because we have so much strength and depth there that it's like, all right, so you think it's Timber? Fair enough. I love Timber. So yeah. He reminds me a bit of Heinze, our current assistant coach. Lord, I saw a clip of Heinze training, or like doing the warm-ups with like Ben White and the defenders before the game. I think it was Ben White. No, it was Calafiore. And I was like, this guy is rattling them so badly because his energy is just so like, but maybe we need a little bit of that. So yeah, but maybe there is a little bit of a comparison between the two of those. Saliba fell off at some point, but picked up when Big Gabby came back. I think they're better together than separate, which is why they're a great partnership. Timber isn't one of the best 1v1 defenders. He absolutely is, and that's an insane statement. And Hincapie is so strong and so hard to beat 1v1. He is a beast if he chooses to attack. Calla and Gabriel, exactly. Heinze is a crazy, crazy man. He's an absolute menace. So yeah, I think from a squad perspective, when we talk about is it an upgrade on Kiwior, I think for the simple, and this could change and I could be wrong, but I am assuming based on the level of the player, what I've seen of him and what we're paying, that we are trying to bring in somebody that's going to be more of a starting level player, because Kiwior was as good as he was definitely a backup. Like there was never really going to be a time where we would look at our defenders and choose Kiwior over anyone else. But Hincapie comes in, and I do think he'll play a lot at left back. I don't foresee him playing at left center back, but unless we're like in an emergency or something like that. But there might be a time where you look at Calla and you look at Hincapie, maybe you look at MLS and you say Hincapie would be best for this game. And that's where the upgrade comes in, just at like the bare bones of it, is that you're replacing a squad guy with somebody that could genuinely start. And that's kind of what we've done, with Eze and Madueke and Mascara and, whoever else has come in. Most of those players, maybe outside of like Kepa and maybe Norgard, have a genuine chance of being able to start in this team based on who we're playing. I like that. The way that we've upgraded the squad has been really interesting because it's gone up so many levels, and you could genuinely make an argument for several people starting just based on the opposition. Let's see. Was on Scout Nation today. He looks more like Calla than Lewis Skelly, less inverting, more galloping. The argument we have nowadays about who's our best defender is great. Remember when we had Mustafi Bellerin and I think you're talking about Socrates. Yeah, that's horrendous. All four, it's great. Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, Callie. He'll be good. Those Newcastle types of games. And yeah, I think also I think Social Joins is saying in the chat, and I think I've seen several people mention this across different social media, that bringing in somebody like this opens up maybe an opportunity for Miles to move into midfield. If we could move Miles into midfield, that's like signing a new midfielder. Genuinely, somebody that is press resistant, good carrier of the ball, a good passer of the ball. Definitely is somebody that I would love to see further up the pitch in his natural position because as much as I love Marino, I just don't think he's a suitable option at left center mid, to be honest. And so if you could utilize Miles there because you no longer need to, put him at left back, it's looking good, bruv. It's looking good. Because genuinely with Kala and Hincapie, the two of them should be able to cover, that position, and Miles should be able to play a little bit at left center mid. I don't see why I wouldn't. With this, Miles can go into the 8 role and can also be the last resort left back. Miles at 6 of I don't see the rest of this, but Miles at 6, maybe? The end game has always been for him to end up in midfield, so sounds good to me. Up levels and not before time. Good evening, family. Good evening to you as well. Good morning. Been so busy. I'm just joining. He's a good signing. I would say he's a starter for sure. I think if you haven't watched him, but you've watched some of his comps, you can genuinely see him starting games for us. And that doesn't mean that Calla will never play again. It's just getting used to the idea that, we're going to have options. And that means that maybe somebody that usually starts actually gets a chance to sit down for once. Those are really good problems to have and not have a drop off like we've had in the past. If when Hincapie comes, I need that signing so much, by the way. What would that mean for our dear MLS midfield beckoning, which is exactly what we're just talking about? I do think that he could move into midfield. And that's his natural position. And I think he has all of the attributes to be a special midfielder at Arsenal. He's press resistant. He's a great passer. He's a good ball progressor. He's maybe not the biggest goal threat, but you could hone that and make him better at those things. So, and with his stint at left back, he's probably a better defender for it as well. So MLS as an option at left center mid or, whatever midfield position you see him at can only be a positive for us and as a backup left back. But I do think sooner rather than later, Ethan and MLS need to be playing in the positions that they're meant to be playing for us, not left back and right wing, but in midfield positions, because that's inevitably where they'll do their best work for Arsenal is in their natural positions. I'll be honest, I've never watched him. What are his main strengths? So let me go in really quick and get up some like stats and stuff so you guys can see visually, some of his better attributes, what he's good at, what he's not as good at. I'll also say I don't want to say it too loud because I don't want to jinx him, but he has a really good injury record. So hopefully that stands, but he has a really good injury record. I don't want to say it too much or too loud just in case. I don't want to jinx him, but he does have that for sure. Let me just pull this up really quick. Um, Here we go. Did it go? No? There. I don't know why it stalled out so much there, but anyways, so you guys know I love the old FB ref. So I want to caveat this by saying that, oh, that's why the internet's going down. You guys know the drill. I'm just waiting for the internet to straighten up. Hopefully it does sooner rather than later. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Come on. Come back. It usually does, so completely. Why is it acting like this? Why is it going down for so long? It never goes down for this. It's taking so. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, you guys. I don't know why it took so long. I see a lot. I lost a couple of you guys. Thank you for everybody that stuck around. I'm sorry. I don't know why it went down for so long that time, but I wanted to preface this by saying that this is against center backs, and this is somebody that I do think has played under Javi Alonso and maybe a little bit of like a progressive position. Like he's not a center back that just kind of sits back. They played in a back three for a long time. So I just wanted to preface that because I know it's like, look at all the green bars, but I think the real comparison would actually be against fullbacks. And so if we're assuming that he's going to play in a fullback role, then this would probably be a better comparison to look at instead of him against center backs. But you can it when you look at this, you can see pretty much what he's good at. My internet went down again. I'm fuming, fam. Okay. Why is it going down again? But yeah, yeah, you can see that he's a real like an actual defender that gets into. Is something happening with the internet? It's going in and out and in and out, and it's driving me crazy. It's driving me nuts. Oh my oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. I hope I don't have to end the stream, but right now it's acting up. I don't know what to do. Maybe I should go out and come back in. Maybe I'll do that. Let me try to go out and come back in. Maybe. Let's see. But all right, it's back. I don't know why it goes in and out. Sorry. But in terms of no understanding what kind of player he is, he's a really good defender. The interceptions are there, the blocks are there, the clearances are there, the aerials one, which if you watch any of his comps, you'll see that he scores a lot of goals from headers on corners, which would make a lot of sense. And he makes a lot of progressive passes. A lot of the passes that he makes is into the wing back, but for us, that would be into the left winger. He makes a lot of those like seemingly simple passes, but across the back line and then over to the left sided wing back. He makes a lot of those passes. So I think that's a lot of where the progressive passes come from. He's heavily involved in a lot of buildup and what Bayer Leverkusen are doing going forward. So he takes a lot of touches. His pass completion is good. And so at a glance, you can kind of see what he does for Leverkusen. Now, if you actually watch the comps as well, you'll see him do a lot of overlapping and getting into the final third. And he's a really good athlete that has a good, like you guys were saying earlier, a good gallop on him. Like he's somebody that can get into advanced positions and put in a decent cross or a good pass into the striker, which is exactly what we need. So if you're utilizing him or Kala to overlap, they'd both be really good at it. I think Kala's probably the better option for the inverting and coming central and all of that. But Hincapie is probably the better option for somebody that you can rely upon to defend, but also somebody that you want to overlap, get into the final third. And oh, by the way, he's a good 1v1 defender, so you can trust him to do those things. Let's see what you guys are saying. Sorry, guys, about the internet. It's driving me nuts, but we only had an hour for the show, so I don't really want to cut it off. I want to make sure that we get this done. Andrea Berta has well and truly exposed the incompetency of Edu. Wallahi, we were starving. Absolutely. Like I think all of the people that were doing up the, yeah, but we don't have all the information. What do you mean? Why are you guys so harsh? He's helped rebuild the club. I'm like, there's just too many mistakes in there, too many blind spots, too many, windows where things went under um un unfixed. Like this is too much. And to me, the last window was so negligent and so detrimental to so many of our players because they came in and were on the edges of injuries and then ended up getting injured for long periods of time because they were not properly supported with a squad that is needed for the type of competitions that we're trying to be in. So yeah, Edu was sleeping on the job, and I think a lot of them maybe Edu push signings. Like I do think Kiwior is an Edu signing. We know Fabio Vieira was as well. None of those have really worked out. And so maybe it's just the case that he needs to he's good where he's at. But Berta seems to be able to, because Berta wanted to sign Hincapie for Atletico Madrid. I'm liking the standard of players that he's bringing in a lot more than what Edu was, because you bring in somebody like Kiwior, and as good as he is, he just was not the right fit for the Prem, but you just know this guy is going to be good in the Prem. He's athletic, he's strong, he's fast, and he's somebody that can defend. You need those things in the Prem. Bird ain't messing around. Edu and Jason Ito didn't do their job. Yeah, I think it's clear now that Edu wasn't good enough. These Saka injuries are partly on him. How much are we getting for Kiwior? About what we paid. It's like 25 million euros altogether with like add-ons or something. So we're either getting just about what we paid, if not a little bit less. I'm beginning to think Edu was asked to resign like they did with Wenger. I just think like the timing of it just shows that it wasn't something that was just, oh, he just got a new job and just decided to go. Even if he got a new job with Nottingham Forest, if he respected Arsenal and he was leaving on good terms, he would not have left us before the January window. He would have at least done the January window and then left, or he would have stayed until the summer and then left. He left in like November. There was clearly something that had happened. And the way that this window has panned out, we've had a lot of positivity. Like early on in the window, he was able to pivot away from Juan Garcia and then get Kepa. Not like our favorite signing, but a good, cheap backup goalkeeper with Premier League experience. Boom, done. He was able to go get Norgard for cheap, Premier League standard DM to back up Zubamendi. Boom, done. Perfect. Then he was able to go get Mascara. I think probably it's going to go down as an underrated signing for us, but it's one of my favorites because it's the type of signing that PSG does, or one of those other teams do. And then we're like, fuck, I wish we would have done that instead of overpaying for Mark Gahey or something like that. Perfect signing for us, the perfect type of player to come in and step in for Saliba. Gabriel, he can also play right back. Fantastic. I cannot believe we got him for 13 million. And then we went into the difficult time trying to get the striker. And instead of pissing around, trying to fuck around with RB Leipzig when they were acting up, he pivoted right away and said, fuck it, we're going to go get Gyökeres. And even though that was difficult, he got that done with a really, really good fee. He didn't get bent over a barrel. He wasn't overpaying or anything like that. We got Gyökeres for really cheap for a player of his standard. Boom, perfect. Then, I mean, obviously we did Madueke. That's probably the one. I feel like Arteta just wanted him and Berta got it for him, whatever. Then he gets Eze. Now he's getting Hincapie. Did I miss anything? Because we made so many signings. Edu could never. Edu could never. He could never. Steve says the Spurs hijack is real. It is. Hincapie is like for like replacement for Kiwior. Kiwior wanted regular game time and we couldn't give it to him simple as. I don't think it was I don't think it's like for like. I think it's like more of like we're replacing him, but to me, there's not a lot that's that similar in their play style. Kiwior is definitely more of just a center back. He really struggled at left back for me. He wasn't athletic. Hincapie is very athletic. Kiwior struggled with the physical side of the game. Kiwior is probably a better passer, but you know, I don't really see them as like for like. But it definitely was, it's a smart, if somebody wants to go, a smart way to upgrade is not just go get somebody that's the same, go get somebody that's actually going to push for a starting position rather than just another backup, if that makes sense. Calafiori and Hincapie are our left backs. My wildest dreams would be for us to break Chelsea's record of goals against, which I think is 15 the whole season. This isn't a Hincapie replacement. It's more depth at left back. Let's see. Why are we doing spreadsheets? Don't know what you mean. Edu would still be talking to Sesko or pretending he's going for Isak or some shit like that. Edu, whatever happened for us to get Berta was the right thing for us because we needed to move away from him. We just needed to. Like for like, my ass, Hincapie can defend against elites on the wing. He can defend. Let's be honest, Kiwi was our best long-range passer, but he wasn't built for the Prem bullies. Exactly correct, Diallo. I agree with that 110%. Where Kiwior had some standout attributes, especially like his passing, we just didn't get to see it enough because he was getting bullied by Mateta. Like, you know, it is what it is, you know? I wish Don Berta could sell Zinni and Nelson this window. We need some inflow. I think we need one more attacking player, left wing to be exact. I think Berta is preparing the squad for a manager that can take us over the line. Excuse me. I don't think he's sitting there actively. Let's prepare a squad for Arta's for when Arteta departs. I think he's building a squad that represents a club that is fighting on all four fronts and wants to win big trophies. Whether Arteta's here or not, that's the remit. And so I don't think it's like I'm just trying to build the squad for the next manager. Like, I think he's working as hard as he can to build a squad that's necessary for whatever manager that's here to be able to, you know, compete on all four fronts. From the comps, Hincapie is an upgrade, scores, and is great at tackling. Arteta wants defenders that can score as well. I think he wants defenders that can help the bottom line in terms of goals. But one thing Arteta is never going to accept, I feel like, especially moving forward, is players that are not really good 1v1 defenders. And I'm starting to see maybe not 1v1 defenders, but people that can't hold their own. I think he's just about okay with Calafiori because we're going to probably see him more at left center back, which means he won't get exposed as much. But what he gives you going forward is so good that it doesn't really matter. But when you have guys like, I mean, you even saw it with Tommy. Tommy was a really good 1v1 defender. But when you see like Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Mascara, Hincapie, Calafiori, like we're starting to see like, he's like, I don't give a fuck. You're going to have to defend. I do not want to concede. I don't, you know? So yeah, he's not playing around at all. What do you think this does for Lewis Skelly? I'm worried about Ben White. Lewis Skelly moves into midfield. He's just doing his job as an elite. I agree. A squad that can compete with the top 10 in Europe. I just think he's just doing his job. to be honest. I don't think he's like, "Who I'm gonna prepare for the next coach," or whatever, you know what I mean? Jess, don't you think we will struggle in the midfield a lot if Rice isn't playing because he's basically our only athletic midfielder? Uh, yeah, I mean, but I think we're assuming that Rice will be there, and if Rice is not there, then we'll figure out something else, I think, um everybody has players in their team that they'll have to plan for not having. If they're not there, they will look different. In Arsenal, as much as they're trying to make sure that they cover their bases, there's always going to be players in the team that, unfortunately, if you don't have them, you're going to look different. It's going to be very unlikely that we'll have some player that can do what Declan Rice can do. And yeah, you can bring in somebody that has legs, but are they as good as Declan Rice? Because some people that have legs just don't have tech at all. They're not good passers, they're not a goal threat. So I get what you're saying, but every team has a player that if you pluck them out of the team, you're gonna look different. And Rice is no different. But this is kind of why I want to see MLS moved into midfield, because he's probably the one player that I could see that, like you're saying, like because MLS is an athlete. MLS is an athlete. But he's also incredibly technical as well. So yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to, instead of have Marino behind, Rice, to start to build like that. MLS is going to be the left center mid if Rice is not playing, which to me, he's the perfect player to play that position. So, yes, I have fears if Rice does not play, but of course, I'm going to have fears if our 100 million pound marquee world class midfielder is not on the pitch. Of course. Jess, I prayed for days like this. We used to get bullied every weekend. Now we are the bullies bring. I think the most important for Arteta is versatility, ability to play multiple positions with little drop off. We're definitely we're definitely multiple positions FC, versatility FC, and where I think, maybe we've lacked the specialists in the past, bringing in and I get that Eze is versatile by nature, but he brings in a specialty that we've been missing, which is creativity, goal scoring, X factor. Gyökeres is also a specialist goal scorer. So we've mixed in some more specialist type of players with our versatility. And that's, I feel like, the balance that we need to get to, and we're getting closer to that. So, but Arteta is make sure your ass can defend, and versatility FC. That is Arteta down to the ground. They're saying Watkins' agent is offering him to us for a loan. No, they're not. Don't lie. Is he seeing what what God did for Eze and asking for the same thing? Because I mean, he's probably somebody that's like, he's living my dream. He's living my dream. But bringing in Ollie Watkins on loan feels a little. Do we need to do that? I mean, it's greedy. But yeah, Eze and Madueke are specialists. I'm not trying to be resentful, but there were convos that Spurs and Chelsea had better windows. Y'all should low-key apologize and relax on Arteta. Prior to Hincapie and Eze, they were having better windows than us. They were. And that's when we had those conversations. So things have changed now, and Chelsea's had a good window. Their window can still be comparable to ours. But yeah, I stand by what I said. Before we got Eze, Spurs were about 90 seconds away from getting Eze. And at that point, they were getting Savinho, they were getting Eze, they had already gotten Kudus, they had Paulinho. So they were having a better window than us. And Chelsea were also having a better window than us. The shift of Eze is so big that alone made our window into a successful window, because we needed that player like we needed air. I stand by what I said. It's like, yeah, it's, yeah, it is what it is. I would take Watkins. He's a better number 2 than Havertz. If we didn't hijack that Eze deal to Spurs, they would have definitely had a better window. Exactly. And they were like 5 seconds away from doing it. I think what I'm not going to do is have people pretend like they saw Eze coming when we were all so shocked. That's why it was such a big deal. It's because it was a hijack out of nowhere. And so we were all assuming that he was going to Spurs, which with that signing, because of how important that signing is, would have been for them and for us. We know how big it is. Our window did not look anywhere near the same thing without that Eze signing, and theirs also looks nowhere near as strong without Eze as well. So, yeah, I'm not trying to hear all that. I get it. Maybe we should have waited a little bit longer, but when we're doing active like inventories of our window, Chelsea and Spurs were having a better window than us about a week ago, as it makes the Nani signing so much better. Now we can talk about Madueke. I always said don't talk about Madueke until the end of the window. He could be a death purchase now. Now he makes sense. Now he definitely makes sense for sure. He's living my dream. Jess has a mean bone, but in a good way. We'd be best friends in another life. But it's true. He is living his dream. He is living his dream. Ollie Watkins has auditioned, for Arsenal every time that he's played at the Emirates for like the last 3 years. And done very well, by the way, because he's basically scored against us almost every single time that he's come to the Emirates. He's a known Arsenal fan, and he was very close to coming to us in January. He was so close to coming to us in January. Like, he must be like, fuck. And then he's also stuck at Villa right now. So maybe they are. He's saying, calling Arteta saying, do you want me? Does Arteta want me? Is there any chance that I could come to Arsenal? Maybe he's doing the same thing that Eze was doing. But listen, I don't know if we actually need him. So yeah. Oh, Crystal Palace deal for Leicester El Canus has collapsed. Leicester no longer need to sell to satisfy PSR, having sold James Justin to Leeds would now take 35 million to prize him away. Palace won't pay that. Damn. That sucks, bro. I was really looking forward to him. I was really looking forward to him going to Crystal Palace and playing with Wharton, but I guess he's not going. And they spent some of the money on, if not all of it, on Yeremy Pino, which is like, who said that was a good signing? I haven't heard about Yeremy Pino in about 3 or 4 years now. I'm surprised that they've gone in that direction, Crystal Palace, but we'll see how it cooks. But Alcanus, no, maybe he'll go to Spurs. Tyler Dibbling cost 42 million. I'm low key a bit woke right now. Crystal Palace can take Fabio Vieira. I mean, they could do worse. Malik Fofana has decided to stay at Lyon. Next season, we'll be back. Next summer, we'll be back. Oh, that was the signing. That was the last one. If we could just get one more over the line. I know it was just a pipe dream because I know Martinelli would have to go, but at least if he stays at Lyon, there's a chance that we could still get him. But yeah. Crazy. Let's see. Let's get Yildiz from Juve. They're not going to let us have their crown jewel. I feel like ESR would do well for them. Hot take, I think Eze will be PFA Player of the Year, but will come second with 91 points, losing to Liverpool by 1 point with being the extra point. Okay. Hopefully we win the Premier League. We got to win it at some point. We got to beat them this time. Did you realize our entire back line and goalies plus Subi speak fluent Spanish, except for White and Timber and maybe Saliba? Yeah, I mean we're no longer French FC or whatever. We are definitely Spain FC, whatever you want to call us. Yeah, we've changed a lot. We have changed so much. And where Arson like kind of required you to um learn English before you could play, Arteta doesn't give a fuck about that. Because he's just gonna surround you with people that speak your language. We are Basque FC now, like for sure. A lot of Spanish influence. It is what it is. ESR basically a raw version of Eze. Eze is so crispy, and ESR can be a bit sloppy when progressing. Listen, guys, I hope you guys can hear me because I know I'm going in and out now. I'm lagging probably now, but we do have to end the show here just because I have to get this taken care of, and so I need to get going. So this is going to be a shorter show. If they do a here we go for Hincapie soon, then I'll come back later on, maybe when I'm back, but I'm going to be out for a while, so I don't know. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel on the way out. We'll definitely start pivoting towards Leeds starting tomorrow. What we're going to not Leeds, sorry, Liverpool, because we don't, obviously that's the big one now. And we're going to have some big players out, but yeah, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel on the way out. Sorry, this is a little bit shorter, but I want to make sure I did something before I left for the day. But yeah, I will definitely talk to you guys tomorrow. Like and subscribe, and yeah, we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.